Hey guys, so we are looking at the Piriformis stretch here, and more specifically, or more generally, to put it a better way, we're thinking about mobilizing a movement rather than a muscle specifically. So yes, it is a Piriformis stretch, a deep hip rotator stretch, but the movement we're trying to improve is flexion and external rotation, which is basically where
flexion, where the knee comes up towards your chest, and external rotation, where the knee ends up pointing outwards. And
those two movements are essential for things like getting into a good position in the squat, without the knees ducking in and stuff like that. So the piriformis muscle, its function changes depending on how sort of high up the knee is. So when we're down low, or when you're not sort of like in a neutral position, the piriformis muscle actually externally rotates your hip, turns it out. But that joint action changes when it's above
90 degrees. It then becomes a hip internal rotator. So it means that then we need to bring you into this position, external rotation, in order to stretch it.
So let's get to it. We've got a mat variation here, first of all, depending on what equipment you have at your disposal. So I'm going to get into this position, if you can see me here, where I've got the sort of knee at 90 degrees, knee and hip at 90 degrees. So there is a space between my calf and my hamstring. I'm not in like this. I'm going to start off with my chest up, nice and tall, back flat. I'm going to try and make sure that knee is pressed down into the floor. And then what I'm going to do is, to begin with, just lean forwards, trying to hinge from the hip, leaning almost over the top of that knee. And now I can start to feel this in the sort of the glute area, my butt cheek on this side, which is exactly where I want to feel it. So once I've got that position of tension, I've found that sensation of stretch, I'm going to either sort of statically hold here for 30 to 45 seconds, or preferably we're going to use this contract relax method, which is where I'm going to push the knee down into the floor. So what you can't see this, but what I'm doing is this. So I'm pushing down, activating that muscle, just sort of a low effort contraction, so about 20% effort, pushing down for about 8 to 10 seconds. I'm going to relax. So I've stopped contracting. I'm going to take a deep breath in and then breath out. That sensation of stretch is now diminished, so I'm going to regain it, moving into range a little bit further than I was able to do previously until I regain that sensation of stretch, and hold here for 10 seconds and then repeat that process a couple more times. So that's the variation on the mat. Now the next variation is on the box, and there's a couple of ways you can do this, one of which I can just sort of a little bit less aggressive, is I can just sort of sit onto the box where the foot's off here, a bit easier to get that knee into that position. Other leg on the floor is just out straight. Again, trying to keep the knee on the box flat down, and I'm just repeating the same method. So I'm rotating, turning, and then trying to find that sensation stretch again. I can do the contract relax method as sort of demonstrated before. Just take the time to sort of play around with this, because if you don't find that original, the stretch from that original position we demonstrated, you're absolutely fine to play around with the position of torso rotation, going towards the ankle, going straight down towards the shin bone. Just play around with it until you feel that sensation of tension, that glute area, that butt cheek on this side. And then the last one, if I come over, is in this position. So now I'm straight forward onto the box, my knee's at 90 degrees again. Again, it's imperative that you keep your back flat. I think a lot of people make this mistake, they just sort of round the back, and it kind of gives this impression, if you know I'm stretching really far, but you're putting yourself in a position where you're a lot less likely to actually get that sensation of stretch when you're rounding your back, and you're going to end up sort of stretching your back muscles rather than your actual hip musculature by sacrificing that position. So no different to if you were picking up the bar for a deadlift. Keep that spine nice and neutral, and then lean forward from there.